everybody. Thought I'd do a more in-depth review of my MacBook now that I've had it for a while. This is the black MacBook. It is the late 2006 model with the Core 2 Duo. And it's pretty good. It's not a computer I use a lot because of how old it is, but it's still, I want to say that it's not obsolete because I'm currently running OS 10 Snow Leopard. Look here. More info. This isn't as this about this Mac feature isn't as simple in the older versions of OS 10 as it is in the newer ones, where it just, super simple. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Mac OS 10.6. I thought that was version 3, but it's actually version 1. And so that means I don't have the App Store. Now, I've really haven't gotten far in my restoration with this machine. All I've done so far is put some new thermal paste on the CPU and GPU. Arctic Silver 5, if anyone's curious. Works very well, actually. Look at these CPU temperatures. It's a little too much for my taste, but it's not. It usually doesn't get that high. It's only that high because I'm recording my screen right now. When I use, applications like that, it gets a little high, but a Word document or whatever, it'll work just fine. This actually, surprisingly, we go back to hardware and graphics and displays. This has an Intel GMA 950 GPU. It's really old. And it's only got 64 megabytes of VRAM, or it's of shared system memory. It's got a 1280 by 800 resolution, pixel depth, 32-bit color. Yes, it's the main display. I do have some DisplayLink drivers on here for my USB powered display, although the problem is this machine does not support the latest version of the DisplayLink drivers. So they're very glitchy and very low frame rate. It's instead of frames per second, it's more like seconds per frame. It's pretty terrible. But the computer itself, sorry the lighting was so terrible. The computer itself is actually a pretty good machine. It's got a it's straight up 2 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo, and it is dual core. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Core 2 Duo, that's what the Duo means. So yeah, this is actually Intel's first 64-bit processor, and the trackpad actually did have a little cover over it, a little stick-on cover that came with it, but it kind of came off because it was, I guess it was a cheap one or whatever, so that's why the trackpad looks so bad, but you can get one, I'm sure you can get one off of Amazon. If I find a website, I'll put a link at the end of the video, or in the description or whatever. So, yeah. Zoom out. This is a pretty sexy looking machine, I must say. Here's what it looks like when it's closed. Yeah. That's nice. One thing a computer like this is good for is, since it only one of the benefits of having an older machine like this is you can run older applications that are too obsolete for the newer operating systems, which is kind of cool. I don't know if you can hear the fan revving. A problem with this machine is the mid-2000 MacBooks are notorious for overheating, for having heat problems. So, yeah, my Arctic Silver 5 thermal compound that I put on there really helped with that. But they still have heat problems, pretty bad heat problems. So, I mean, you know, as long as you're not trying to do any HD video streaming, then it'll be fine. So, let's go over some of the ports here. Got, focus, yeah. Got MagSafe charging, Ethernet, a mini DVI. For those of you who don't know what that is, I've heard some people say it's like, they just don't know what it is, straight up. But it is a mini DVI. Firewire 400, and two USB Type 2, Type 2. Two USB 2.0 ports, Type A. You got a mic port and a headphone port, and then you've also got the Kensington lock. One thing I noticed when I got this machine is there were quite a bit of screws missing from it. And it's kind of ridiculous, because I bought this machine refurbished, and it was not very well refurbished, might I add. So there's two screws missing here, and if you look on the bottom, there is also a screw missing over there. I don't know if you can see it because of the bad lighting. And then there's also a ton of screws missing on the inside. The optical drive, all of the screws for the optical drive are missing. There's nothing holding that thing down in there. It's pretty much just being held in there by how snug it is. And I have noticed that it is a very loud optical drive. So I'm going to put in a disc so you guys can see how loud this thing is. I don't think this is the optical drive that comes with this computer, because I just don't think so. Like, if you look, I have to almost push it in there all the way by hand, and right when I get to the last part, it snatches it. And listen how loud it is. Hasn't started revving yet, but it will. That is the optical drive making all that noise. Pretty damn loud. And that's not even as loud as it goes. I've heard it get louder. I guess I'd have to install these drivers, but none of those will work on this machine, considering that. Focus. Those are Windows drivers, and those drivers are too new for this machine. So, if I was going to watch a movie or something, I'd probably use one of these. USB optical drive. Let's eject that. And one thing I've noticed, another thing that makes me think this is not the original optical drive, is sometimes it doesn't spit out the disc. You know what I mean? Like, the disc doesn't come out. I'll hit eject, then it says that it's ejected, but the disc will stay in there. And then I'll have to restart the computer. Now, as you can see, this one's kind of loud too, but it's not nearly as loud as this one, and, I mean, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was really stupid. Damn it. But, as you can see here, I can still open it up as if I was using the one that was on board the computer. Yeah, look at that. It works. So, you might want to get a USB optical drive if you're using one of these. And I can even eject it from here. Neat. So, I'd recommend a USB optical drive if you got one of these cheap third-party ones in here. This also said the hard drive was professionally cleaned, and it wasn't, because it still had administrative passcodes on it. So I was able to factory reset the computer. I'd show you how to do that, but I kind of don't want to factory reset my computer again, because I got everything the way I like it. I'm going to have to eventually, because, I mean, putting a new hard drive in there is going to reset it to whatever. And then I'm also going to load Lion onto that hard drive. And from there, call me crazy guys, but from there, I think I'll be able to get El Capitan on this machine. This machine doesn't support anything past Lion, but once I get Lion on here, I will meet all of the hardware and software requirements to run El Capitan once I've maxed out the RAM to 4 gigs. I'm at 2 gigs right now. So once I've done that, I can run El Capitan on this thing, theoretically. And as much as I don't want El Capitan, because honestly guys, I don't like it. I don't like the new UI. I like this old UI, like with this finder here. I like this guy. This guy's cool. I don't like this guy. I like this guy. You may have noticed that I do have a temperature monitor on this machine. These are my CPU cores and sensors. This is with temperature zone. These are my cores right here. And then these are the sensors. Sensor A and sensor B. I don't know why they both say A. It's kind of weird. But you'll notice it is getting kind of warm right now. You can also hear the fan revving. Now, before I got this temperature monitor, when I heard that fan revving, I would shut this computer down immediately. Excuse me. Only for you guys, huh? But after I got the temperature monitor, I was able to let the fan run because I didn't care if the fan revved up, because I noticed when the fan revved up, the temperature started going down a lot. But when I didn't have this, the fan just kept revving and revving and revving, and I was thinking that maybe it wasn't powerful enough to cool the machine, because I don't know why it would have kept revving, you know, if it was working. But turns out the more it revs, the better it does of cooling. I mean, you know, that's a no-brainer that the more your fan's revving, the better job it'll do at cooling. But I figured that if it just kept revving and revving and the computer still felt hot, that it just wasn't working. So that was like my signal to shut it down. It's getting too hot. But ever since I applied the thermal paste on here, I have not had any heat issues. But the running temperature of this machine is, I mean, like, this computer claims on Apple.com, it's said that this computer can run at 100 degrees Celsius before there's any issues. That's very hot. And one thing I've noticed when I first got this machine, and this is something that was just very disappointing to me. Turn it on its side here without breaking it, eh? I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's kind of like a little bump right here. This is directly below where the CPU is, which means that this computer actually got hot enough to the point where it melted the chassis. The plastic chassis. You'll notice here that there are some chips on the palm rest. I am very disappointed about those, but I mean, it's almost impossible to find one of these machines that doesn't have these chips. They are pretty disappointing to see though, aren't they? Whatever, I still love this computer. This thing is my Bessie. It's my little baby. Even though it doesn't have as much power and graphical capabilities as my Mac Mini, or, well, it is faster than my previous machine. I don't know. I use like so many freaking computers in a day. I can't think of one to compare it to. Newer MacBook. I use one of those like twice a week. I use a 2014 13-inch Retina MacBook Pro, and that's more powerful and has more graphical capabilities than this. But when you compare this machine to the new MacBook, this machine, I mean, you know, the new MacBook, this machine has a faster processor than the new MacBook. It's 2 gigahertz, the new MacBook's 1.1 or 1.2. But maybe the Intel Core M processor in that might have more power per watt ratio than this machine, although this machine's processor does run faster. So it could be faster, it could be slower, I don't know, but on paper, this computer is better than the current MacBook. And it is also a cult favorite among Apple fans. And one thing I like is, I don't know if any of you ever heard of Sheep Shaver, but I've seen a lot of videos of this application here called Sheep Shaver. Sorry, I'm recording with my phone. My screen recording software doesn't work on Mac OS 9. But they're like, Sheep Shaver is a virtual machine for running old operating systems like Mac OS 9 here. And I've never seen it run on a newer machine before. I'm sure it can, but I've seen most of the people who run this are using Tiger or Snow Leopard or whatever. I don't have any drivers, but, I mean, come on guys, it's freaking cool to have Mac OS 9. And I can also change the color ratio. I'm at millions of colors right now, but I could make it like fucking straight up black and white if I wanted to. So, yeah, I'm going to shut this down because this actually gets the heat going. And we're back. So I think I'm going to end the video here.